This is the newsroom for today, Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Partika. In the headlines, Guyana does not have the capability to test for the new strain of COVID-19.
We don't have the capabilities of doing genetic testing.
Beepats to build Marriott Sheraton Airport Hotel and Resort. Damning findings from probe into sale of asphalt from government plant. And in sport, Linden and Georgetown to resume rivalry in bounce-back football classic final on January 1 at Providence. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We started by telling you that the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, on Wednesday revealed that Guyana does not have the capability to test for the new variant of COVID-19, which health experts are reporting is more transmissible. However, the minister during Wednesday's daily COVID-19 update revealed that testing can be done through the Caribbean Public Health Agency, but he did not state how long the results will take or what will be the cost. And now that there are 348 active cases and a limited number of new cases have been reported within the last week, the minister is pleading with citizens to continue to adhere to the COVID-19 guidelines.
You know, I think a lot of people believe that once they've had COVID, that they can't get it back, right? The science is not saying so because, as I explained before, we have seen a number of cases where people have been reinfected. And, you know, you just got to be cautious. You have to take the precautions so as to prevent this from happening. The reason why the scientists have postulated about the reinfections, it's because there are different strains of viruses. So the virus over time would mutate, and you can be infected with a variant, and then subsequently by another variant. We don't have the capabilities of doing genetic testing, and therefore we don't know the types of variants that are circulating, because that would the types of tests that you need to do are very specialized. We don't have that capability here. But we have been offered through CARFA that if we need to do such types of testing, that we can go through CARFA to be able to do that. So it is sometimes very important to understand the variants of the virus that are circulating in a country. But that would also mean that you have to get an ongoing surveillance to track what is happening. But right now we don't have that capability. And I also strongly believe that there are very few countries, if any at all, in the Caribbean that has such a capability. As of now, we have seen a number of active cases. We have about 348 active cases right now. And we keep tracking it because they're dispersed in every region. And sometimes, while you know that looks like a nice number, when you increase testing in particular areas, or if you're more aggressive in a particular area with our testing, you will see those numbers going up. So a lower number right now does not mean that we, you know, somehow we are out of the woods. We're not. Right, and you can see surges happening. So I just want to urge people to be careful because we still have a long way to go if we're going to exit this pandemic.
We tell you now that Beepats Distributing Company has announced that it will be building a Marriott 4-point Sheraton Airport Hotel and Resort in close proximity to the Chadijagan International Airport. Dennis Beepat, the eldest son of Madhu Beepat, who recently passed away, heads the Beepats Marketing and Distribution Company, which has been serving Guyana's home needs for more than 65 years. The Beepats are aiming to utilize their 100-plus acres of land to create and develop a unique airport hotel and resort. The resort is earmarked to have an official water amusement park accompanied by a bevy of activities such as ATV trails, bicycle trails, zip lining, and a lazy river. Additionally, they aim to create a blue water white sand lagoon on the property developed by a U.S. firm. The airport hotel amenities will be similar to that of all 4-star hotels, with pool, gym, conference center, and restaurant, and catering to accommodate business personnel, airline crews and staff, diplomats, and other travelers. The vision will allow the hotel to cater for the potential influx of visitors while providing a vacation destination for all Guyanese, Caribbean and foreign visitors to enjoy. The Beepats believe that the airport hotel and resort will be able to be a hub, that should be, for ecotourism, where visitors can launch visits to all of Guyana's other interior locations. Now, an investigation into misappropriations in the management and reselling of government's asphalt and the connection it has to the internal staff of the Ministry of Public Works has unearthed a series of damning findings. More in this report.
With investigations into a possible asphalt racket completed, the report was handed over to the Minister of Public Works one edge on Wednesday, but the specific allegations which initiated the investigation remains undetermined. Head of the investigation team, Chaitram Ramdial, said they were unable to determine whether the specific allegations of a racket involving the resale of asphalt being purchased by the government for roadworks to select contractors at discounted prices was true. However, the team concluded that based on a lack of internal control and a system for reconciliation, the allegations are possible.
Our investigation, yes, would have revealed that the ministry, as I mentioned before, would have purchased asphalt through a prepayment system and did not have a system in place to reconcile their receipt, how much they receive against how much is paid for. And as such, we are unable to determine whether the allegation is true. Our examination of the payment also, as I said before, there's an overpayment, and as such, because of the overpayment and because of the lack of reconciliation, then the allegation can be possible.
Among the main findings in the report is that the management and sale of the asphalt was poorly done. The report said no credit policy of credit approval limit was in place. Trucks collecting asphalt at the Garden of Eden location would travel several miles to the Demerara Harbour Bridge to weigh the asphalt, while there is a location closer that could facilitate this at a lower cost. The report also found that the agency purchased cold mix from Trinidadian company, which was registered in 2016, the same year that the purchasing agreement commenced. But more alarming is that the company was paid an advance payment of $9 million in 2015, meaning the advance payment was made before the company was legally registered. It would appear that the advance payment was startup capital for the shady company. The investigation also found that the ministry was buying and paying for asphalt in advance, but did not keep a record of what was received and what was paid for. In the end, there was overpaying done for asphalt. The investigation also found that the agency hired and paid for private transportation from a company at a cost that was so high when the agency could have purchased its own fleet of vehicles. The full report will be made public after it has been disseminated to the Board of Directors of the Demerara Harbour Bridge. In brief remarks, Minister Edgell said the findings were damning and he intends to deliberate with the board at a special meeting to ensure that those who are culpable are dealt with based on the principles of natural justice.
I listened to the chairman just now and I'm wondering if we were paying rental for transportation and the cost of that rental was so exorbitant that we could have bought our own fleet, I'd probably have to dig a little deeper in finding out who we were renting from, and I hope it wasn't a member of staff or anyone who's connected with people at the Harbour Bridge or the asphalt plant. Then, Minister Indar, I noticed that the chairman just told us that we bought coal mix from a company, and that company was formed the same year in which we purchased. And we advanced money to that company the year before. So probably we financed the startup of this company to buy from the company.
Meanwhile, Minister within the Ministry of Public Works, Gov't Indar, described the 31-page report as comprehensive and said corrections will be made to all deficiencies found. The investigation covered the period 2013 to present and was done by Mr. Chaitram Ramdial and a team of members which included Ms. Heidi Gilliat, Ms. Brian Singh, and Mr. Dexter Smith.
When the newsroom returns, the general manager of the Harbour Bridge authorized the purchase of a gold band worth $897,000. Stay tuned. This is the newsroom. An investigation has found that the Demerara Harbour Bridge general manager, Ralston Adams, authorized the purchase of an $897,000 gold bracelet for himself as a gift According to lead investigator Chetram Ramdehal, the gift was purchased in November 2019 for the International Men's Day celebration, where the corporation bought gifts for staff without the approval of the board of directors. Ramdehal said the purchase was authorized by Adams himself, although in the normal course of things, approval should have come from the board. He said the board had made a specific request for any gifts being bought to be approved at the board level, but in this instance, this was not done.
It was the board request that any gifts purchased must be approved by the board, but these gifts were not approved. We come across an alarming gift, one to the value of 897,000 bracelet that was purchased for the general manager, approved by the general manager. Normally, approval for those limits should have been done by the board, and if there is no board at the time, the expectation is that it is escalated to the subject minister at the time.
A total of 100 tablets procured from after a fundraising concert by Ansi McCall was donated to the Ministry of Education on Wednesday. These tablets, Minister of Education Priya Manichan revealed, will be donated to students in the hinterland areas with preloaded educational programs to assist with learning during the pandemic. The minister also stated that students in Guyana have been hit hard due to COVID-19 with no devices or internet connectivity to be involved in online learning.
We've had a really hard time in the world. Guyana has not been spared. Guyana has peculiar challenges that other more developed countries had less of, although they still had some of the same challenges. And one of those was when this hit us, and even now continuing, our children don't have the facilities, devices or connectivity to be able to get the kind of enhanced or supported teaching that is recommended by all the learning and teaching across the world. So, as you also know, it has been difficult for us to even source devices, and definitely for 170,000 children, which is what we're catering for, only at nursery, primary, and secondary. We're not even talking about Gov't. It's been it's been very challenging. When organizations, foundations like yours try to find a way to meet needs that are immediate, it sounds sometimes like a cliche, and it can sound a lot like you're just doing routine stuff. When these get into the hands of children and they actually are able to benefit from what they were unable to benefit from, it can be life-changing. And so we thank the foundation for hosting the fundraiser in the first place, and for having Guyana as a part of its beneficiary, as a beneficiary, as a part of that program. These will go mainly to hinterland children. We are doing sort of a pilot with the children who are presently writing CXC, who will be writing CSEC in 2021, and trying to give them not only the ability to be taught by teachers on the coast, but also to have support material uploaded onto these. And so this is very timely.
We like to support things around education and more in the community development part. So I'm happy to pleased to what I might say that this little token is accepted and appreciated. So on behalf of the foundation, we just want to ensure that it will go a long way.
Now, some 2,100 feet of the Ettringbang Airstrip will be soon upgraded, according to Minister of Public Works, Juan Edgel, who visited the area on Tuesday. Accompanying Minister Edgel on his visit was the Assistant Aviation Inspector, Alfonso Manga, Chief Transport Planning Officer, Patrick Thompson, Senior Engineer, Dion Amsterdam, and Chief Inspector, Aerodrome and Ground Aids, GCAA, Adrian Bassir.
I was scheduled to leave to come here for a 1:30 meeting, but I had to be delayed in Georgetown so as to get the airstrip to drain. The men were literally fetching water out of the potholes with buckets to allow for my safe arrival. That don't not happen on a normal day, so people's lives are at risk. Delays are tremendous, and the airstrip is in a terrible state. So we have proposed some money in budget 2020, and we wanted to ensure that we get the best solution of how we're going to fix this airstrip. And I spend the time and the money to come here today to benefit from local knowledge. So we have just finished meeting with the locals who advise me on what happens, what should go forward. And of course, I brought my engineers, my chief transport planner, the inspector from the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority. All the technical people accompany me for this. So we now go back to Georgetown and we will make a final decision on what we will do here at Ittering Bang. Safety of our people on road, water, and those who travel by air are priorities for this government. So whether it's our ferries, whether it's our roads, whether it's our airstrips, whether it's our airplanes that have to bring us into these parts, we want to emphasize safety, and everything will be done to ensure the safety of our people, the tourists that are coming, the Guyanese that are using it, and all and sundry. So immediately today, I agreed with the community that I will cause them to be awarded a $500,000 contract to immediately weed and debush the entire area.
This is the newsroom. The Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton, has said a national skills conference will be convened next year to create linkages for skilled persons in the technical, mining and agriculture sectors. Hamilton said while making assessments of the needs of the labour force in Regions 1, 7, 8 and 9, he received several complaints about a shortage of technical workers. As such, a decision was taken to convene the forum to match skills with vacancies. To this end, the ministry will engage the University of Guyana, the Private Sector Commission, Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association, and the leadership of the Trades Union to structure an 11-person steering committee to spearhead this initiative. The committee will be chaired by the newly appointed chairman of the Board of Industrial Training, David Armagon, who is the regional chairman of Region 6.
So we need to merge together so we can be clear that we're not overpopulating one skill set and neglecting another. And I think that is what presently is happening, even though we have all of these technical training. And that's why the conference will happen. And we will continue the conversation with the oil companies, with the joint technical committees we have established with them to see how they can facilitate and how they can help also us to develop the skills of our people to pay attention to the oil and gas industry.
Minister Hamilton relayed that despite the numerous training programs offered by the Board of Industrial Training, the maximum benefits were not realized as it failed to fill the skills shortage gaps. The minister said the conference is the first part of remedying the situation, and once a plan of action is approved, it can be administered across the region. Now, the Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, has been reflecting on the challenges of 2020. She spoke with the newsroom.
2020 has been a difficult year for all of us for so many reasons. We had the 5 months that were peculiar to our country, and then we had COVID pandemic that gripped the whole world, and then we had people dealing with their own issues, whether it was personal issues of loss of loved ones because of COVID, or it was something or the other. And when I think of what I would have managed to accomplish within the short period of time, I will say to you rather humbly, I don't think I've done enough. I want it to be to a point where I see the impact more. I mean, yes, we have achieved a lot, but for me, it is never enough. So I say it that way because the need is so much, it's so great, and this ministry deals with people. Human services, it's human-centric, it's people-centric. And for me, when I start to see people's lives changing, we've touched it with every program that we have rolled out. We've touched it with every institution that we are looking at and changing systems and giving the institutions the rehabilitation and restoring a lot of systems. Those things are happening. But I think when I start to see the impact, when I see a child smile because we've been able to do something for that child, when I see a mother say, you know, my life has been transformed, maybe before the very end of the year, I'll see those things. But I believe that the greatest thing is that we've managed to take these steps. The greatest thing is that we've managed to touch people's lives. So there are many greats. And another big thing is the teamwork that goes with it, and the response from the communities and the people whose lives that we've managed to touch, whether it's from a community level or it's from a more personal level, because one of the things we've started doing very early is going out to communities and engaging the elderly population, the disabled population, making sure that our systems are doing what they're supposed to do, because there's so many systems, ensuring too that our boards, our commissions are up, they're functioning, because everyone depends on these things. And the big thing about this ministry is not saying one thing is more important than the others, looking at everything as important, which means that for myself and the team that comes from the Ministry of Human Services, many long nights, long days, and this ministry is being called the fast-paced ministry. And whether we call ourselves Formula race drivers or Tesla or whatever you want to call it yourself, this is the way it should be, because you can never move fast enough to help someone. And for every person that you help, they, I hope, will continue that chain of help. And this is the end of the year almost, and what I would like to see happen from where I sit is a chain of compassion and kindness and an attitude of respect and understanding to be very pervasive, and to replace the violence that our country hopefully will come out of with all the initiatives that we're putting in place.
When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bridge reports along with sport. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting things off with some football news. The Linden-Georgetown football rivalry is set to continue on January 1, 2021, when all-star teams from the two towns clash in the final of the Kashivan Shanghai organized Bounce Back Football Classic. On the opening night of action on Tuesday at the National Stadium Providence, Linden All-Stars defeated East Coast All-Stars 4-2, and Georgetown All-Stars prevailed 3-2 against West Coast All-Stars. In the opening game, Linden All-Stars took the lead and never relinquished it to secure a place in the championship game. Linden All-Stars were led by a double from Abamuchi Benjamin, who scored in the 41st and 57th minutes, and solitary strikes from Curtis Kelman, who opened the scoring in the 34th minute, and German Janor in the 53rd. East Coast All-Stars got their goals from Omari Glasgow, who netted in the 52nd minute, and Jamar Harrigan, who got on the score sheet in the 78th minute. In the second contest, Georgetown All-Stars had to dig deep to stave off a spirited effort from West Coast All-Stars. Nicholas McCarter gave the city side an early lead in the second minute, an advantage they held on to until the 45th minute when Sheldon Holder leveled the scores. Treyon Bob in the 57th minute put West Coast All-Stars in the lead, but 10 minutes later, McCarter scored his second goal of the night to bring the teams even. It took a Daniel Wilson's 81st minute strike to separate the teams and give Georgetown a berth in the final. Let's take a look now at some of the goals. The matches signal the commencement of competitive action after 9 months of inactivity due to COVID-19. The matches were played behind closed doors. The final, which will also be played behind closed doors from 18 hours, will be streamed live on NCN Channel 11, E-Networks, AJTV, and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports Facebook page. The tournament is a collaborative effort of the Kashivan Shanghai Organization, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, and the Guyana Football Federation. Now, in the short to medium term, the framework required to play football will not be the same due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And according to the Guyana Football Federation's Public Relations Officer, Kieran Williams, the two-day bounce-back football classic will help the Federation to test its strength and understand better how to play under the protocols. More from Akim Green.
The collaboration between the Kashif and Shanghai organization, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, and the GFF is the first sanctioned football tournament in Guyana since the pandemic struck in March 2020. It is being played behind closed doors, and the players and officials from the 4 teams had to be tested for COVID-19, all of which are small steps to the larger picture of more competitive football in 2021. More so, the GFF has had capacity building and technical support from the Bounce Back partnership between UEFA and CONCACAF.
It definitely does, and what it has done for us, it has allowed us to be able to gather data and to be able to test some of the COVID-19 guidelines that have been put in place, some of the protocols that would have been suggested and put in place. Of course, one of the things, like many other places, football have restarted, but I think everyone could appreciate the fact that because of where we are with infrastructure and many other factors, restarted football in Guyana could not be comparable to some other places, but nevertheless, it could happen through strategic partnership and engagement.
The next step for the Federation will be to engage the national team in training sessions as we prepare firstly for the 2022 World Cup qualifiers and then the Gold Cup group stage qualification.
We have gotten to a place where we feel very confident. We've engaged the national task force, we've developed our own task force, and we believe that we should be able to return to train for the senior men's national team at a very soon date. So hopefully we'll be able to make this grand announcement very soon, but at least return to train should happen soon. And we're confident that with the progression that has occurred, that we'll be able to return to some sort of game action soon. Of course, our first international game is scheduled for as early as March. So it's inevitable that we will have to demonstrate what we would have learned at these 2 games in ensuring that we could execute at that level come March.
In preparation for those tournaments, Williams explained the technical team selected players for the tournament who are in the national setup and some prospects as well.
We certainly wish that this was many months before now, but I think everybody could appreciate the fact that with COVID, we introduced a lot of uncertainty, and the priority of always being the safety of our players, the safety of our fans, the safety of our technical team, and the community at large. So for us, while it's a bit late, we still have an appreciation for this to happen now. The thing is, our technical team is very engaging. We've had them identify some of the best developing coaches across the country to get involved in this. And those developing coaches have identified some of the best players who they believe, who are currently part of the national team program, and those that they believe could potentially get into that group of senior men national players.
The tournament, which had 2 matches on Tuesday, will conclude on Friday, January 1st at the National Stadium Providence. It will be streamed live on NCN, E-Networks, and AJTV, along with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports Facebook page. For the Newsroom, Akim Green.
Some cricket news now. The absence of 13 regular faces in the West Indies squads has forced Cricket West Indies to fill the one-day international and test squads to Bangladesh with several uncapped players. However, Director of Cricket Jimmy Adams views this as a launchpad for new players into international cricket.
There are 7 players that ODI expertise, while there are 4 uncapped test players who are heading to a place where more experienced players from the West Indies lost both series on the last tour in 2018-2019. 10 of the players, including Test captain Jason Hoare and limited over skipper Kyron Pollard, have opted out due to COVID-19 concerns, while Fabian Allen and Shane Dowridge declined for personal reasons and Kimo Paul was omitted due to injury concerns. It resulted in Craig Brathwaite, who was replaced as vice captain for the recent tour to New Zealand, to be appointed Test captain, and Jason Mohammed, who has not played for West Indies since 2018, the ODI skipper.
The circumstances with players choosing not to go is something that I view as an opportunity, first of all. I think the subcontinent has what I would call individual challenges that over the years a lot of West Indian players have actually almost made a name for themselves. in touring pretty early in subcontinent conditions. And I look at a group of players who will not have the experience, obviously, of some of those who have pulled out. But I don't think that they're short on talent. And I have every confidence that with the management team that we have put around them, in Phil Simmons and his support staff, that we have every chance of seeing not only good performances, but probably the start of some very long and fruitful careers. So this is the approach that I personally take when I look at a tour like this.
Adams further stated that CWI has appointed a sports psychologist who will travel with the squad as they continue to learn the long-term effect of bubble tours on the players. Additionally, Chief Selector Roger Harper felt these players can perform and put pressure on the senior players, especially with the busy 2021 schedule. West Indies are expected to host Sri Lanka, South Africa, Australia and Pakistan, all before the Caribbean Premier League.
Bangladesh is a tough place to tour. I think the Bangladeshis play very well in their own conditions. But I think we have a squad here of guys who would be very keen to display their skills, keen to show that they belong at this level, and I expect them to be very competitive, and play with a sense of passion and purpose. And I think, they could probably, be able to put pressure on some of the guys who have been in the team for a while. I think there's a tremendous opportunity for them, and for us too, it gives us an opportunity to see exactly where these guys are. And, maybe they will surprise us all, but I expect the team to be very competitive nonetheless.
West Indies will arrive in Bangladesh on January 10th, after which they play 3 one-day internationals from January 20th to the 25th, followed by 2 tests, which start on February 3rd and 11th. For the Newsroom, Akim Green.
The Guyana Badminton Association on Tuesday last officially launched the new outdoor game, Air Badminton, in Guyana. Air Badminton is an ambitious new development project in partnership with HSBC, that's Badminton's World Federation's global development partner, designed to create opportunities for people of all ages and ability to play badminton on hard, grass and sand surfaces in parks, gardens, streets, playgrounds and beaches around the world. The local Badminton Association said it was extremely happy to get the project off the ground in Guyana, noting that training and competitive action had been put on hold since April due to the coronavirus pandemic. The activity was made possible through support from Colonel Nazrul Hussain of the National COVID-19 Task Force, Marvis Hoppy of the National Parks Commission, Carlton Zhao of Banks DIH Limited, and executives of the Badminton Association. Now, Australia have dropped opener Joe Burns and recalled David Warner and the uncapped batsman, that's Will Pucovski, for the final 2 test matches against India next month. Burns made 3 single-figure scores in 4 innings in the first 2 test matches as Australia won the series opener and India hit back to take the second. Warner missed both matches with a groin injury, while Pucovski, aged 22, was due to make his debut before suffering a concussion in a warm-up match. The 3rd test match begins on January 6. And New Zealand secured a thrilling final hour victory in the first test against Pakistan to boost their hopes of making the World Test Championship final. Spinner Mitchell Santner had the last man Nazim Shah caught and bowled with just 4.3 overs left in Mount Maunganui. The tourist began 71 for 3, needing to bat out the day for a draw or score 373 to win, and Fawad Alam hit 102, sharing a 165-run partnership with Mohammad Rizwan, which spanned 63 overs. Rizwan fell for 60 with 25 overs left before the hosts took the final 5 wickets. Neil Wagner, who broke 2 toes on the second day, had Fawad caught behind to end his 269-ball 6-hours knock, which had seen the 35-year-old score his 2nd test century 11 years after his first. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.